Hello everyone, and welcome to the Object Matrix and eMAM webinar. Thank you for joining us. Just a couple of quick things. We are recording the meeting, so it's available on the internet later. If you have any questions, please do let us know in the chat window. Get my mouse out of the way. So my name is Mark Aberfield. I'm the pre-sales engineer here at Object Matrix. I've been with the company a little over 5 years now. Started in support and worked my way up to be in front of the customer in a pre-sales role. On the line, we also have Chuck as well. If you'd like to introduce yourself, Chuck.
Hi there. Thanks, Mark. Chuck Bulow. I'm the VP of Business Development here at Empress and been with the company for about 5 years now.
Good stuff. So what we'll do today, we'll just give you a quick overview of Object Matrix and our primary product MatrixStore, and then Chuck can give you a little run through of Empress and eMAM, so you understand that a little bit more. Then we'll run through a quick demo, show you what's there and how it looks, etc., in the actual live workflow. So let's get going. So Object Matrix, award-winning UK-based software company. We started back in 2003, and the pioneers, the three main founders, come from the industry of storage and helped build one of the first object storage systems out there. We also sell an appliance, so not just the storage software. We are particularly in the media and entertainment workspace, and that's our main market. Although you'll see some banks and some energy companies on our books, they're actually all video workflows. They've got exactly the same problem as everyone in the media and entertainment industry. They're looking to ingest, protect, and monetize or maintain their assets and distribute them in a good media and video workflow. So Object Matrix is a leading object storage platform for the global media industry. We coined the phrase digital content governance a little while back just to differentiate ourselves from the rest of the storage market, because we understand how important these assets are to our customers and the value of the assets, which is why we give it a bit more governance. We look after it in a particular security workflow, make sure it's got automation so that it can flow through the workflow in the right way, make sure only the people who are allowed access to it have access, as well as ensuring that it is protected against accidental deletion throughout its workflow and the life cycle. The main product that we have is the MatrixStore. MatrixStore is the digital content governance object storage platform. With MatrixStore, we actually create multiple copies. That was a decision made very early on. It's a decision that's now being made by the larger storage companies. We don't split the data up. We make multiple copies, and that allows the data to be actually worked on where it lives. And that gives you that future-proof side of things in that everything's going to be AI ready. You can actually scan the objects where they live, and you're available to work with them in their locations. We talk about hybrid and private cloud side of things as well quite often, because that's where our product sits. We can be in data centers. We've got very tight links with the cloud storage side of things, but the majority of the time people want fast access and secure access in-house, and that's where we come in with the private cloud side of things. So as I said, we've got full metadata and business rule support built into the storage. It's integrated into many file-based and IP workflows. All of the third-party integrations we do are with companies in the media and entertainment industry, such as Empress. And it's all about the very tight security and access controls, full audits of the systems. We've got a concept of vaults within the MatrixStore, which are kind of like buckets or workspaces, but they're providing a fully multi-tenancy system in there. You can have those vaults set up on projects or in different parts of the business, knowing they're all protected from each other in secure repositories. The storage itself's got built-in disaster recovery. It can replicate off to another MatrixStore or our MatrixStore as a service, or into a cloud, and that allows you the full business continuity side of things. It means if you've got it in a second location, you can get back to it in seconds. You haven't got to restore whole wait hours for the restores and the things to carry on. So the business continuity built in there. The nodes themselves, storage tends to not be too CPU heavy. It's mostly about the backplanes and the network. So our CPUs were getting a bit bored, so we decided to get them to do a bit of work, and we brought in process in place. Again, we don't split the data up, so we were very quick and easy to just scan our objects and find any of that metadata that's important. So we can drag out any IMF metadata, AS11, AS10, XMP, even the standard EXIF and media metadata is all extracted and available to you through our tools. All of our tools are interchangeable as well. So we've got an API. We had an API back at the very beginning. But we also developed our tools for the media industry with input from the media industry as well. So MatrixStore file system allows us to mount it as a local drive. That's completely interchangeable with our Samba interface and our NFS interface. And then we've got our Vision portal as well, which is a pretty little front end, which I'll talk about more in a bit. So it's fully future-proof. We can scale it. We can, as more developed hardware comes along, we're completely agnostic on the nodes themselves. So we've qualified 3 different manufacturers of nodes, and you can interchange between them. So there's no need to keep to a certain size or a certain build. As the new stuff comes out, we'll qualify it. We'll deliver that as you grow with your businesses. Just a quick look at those tools again then. So MatrixStore file system, MXFS mounts as a local drive, Samba and NFS, very useful in those large distribution networks. We've got an S3 Connect interface, which makes the MatrixStore look like an S3 bucket, which is very useful for a lot of applications to look at us. We've got the standard FTP interface, DropSpot and Vision, which are our DropSpot being a really powerful ingest tool that uses our API, allows you to add extra metadata bespoke to your particular company. And Vision, the nice little web front end that allows you to see into the MatrixStore and see what you got. 2 others up there I didn't mention. Interconnect is our Avid interface. It works with Avid Media Central PAM and connects off nicely to allow you to mirror your Avid system into the MatrixStore and then restore it to any other one. So a very powerful tool for, again, that DR and BC scenario. And finally, Move 2. That's our mini HSM application. Traditionally, it was pushing off to some of the slower LTO storages, etc., for that kind of cold storage. But now we're using it a lot more in the workflow for S3 and Glacier, pushing it out into Amazon interfaces so that you've got it stored up in the cloud automatically, using policies to decide how it gets there, when it gets there, and should you need it back, how long you bring it back for. So if you're a company implementing video on demand, or you need some nearline, or you need a bit of legacy content brought into the foreground, a lot of people moving their LTO over to us at the moment, especially the news and sports organizations who need that data as fast as they can. Even people implementing cloud strategies, we can be part of that strategy to help you and get you as customers get your data into the cloud in the most efficient way, and also check your egress charges as well to make sure you're not going to bring it back unnecessarily. Obviously, we're built into those Avid and Adobe environments, as well as that full disaster recovery business continuity side of things. So we talk about the hybrid media storage side of things because a lot of people will have an on-premise private cloud, a MatrixStore in-house, but they'll also push off to a second one, either in a data center, their own off-premise private cloud, or into our MatrixStore as a service. That service is available in the UK, in France, in Chile and South Africa, and very soon it'll be in the US and any other countries that require it. And then you can see in there the public cloud options as well, the option to push to and from the various public cloud offerings using our tools. So I'll hand over to Chuck now to talk you through a bit of the eMAM side of things.
Great. Thanks, Mark. So we kind of add to the equation more of a pretty interface to all the media and the files that are stored there. Being a media asset management system, we can basically manage and take in pretty much any type of file. So from 4K and PowerPoints and documents and images and audio files and so on, we can pretty much manage all of that within the system, and then of course archive that media to object matrix, the matrix storage locations as well, pretty much anywhere around the world. So we'll kind of go into that a little bit here in a second. So on the ingest, we do live capture ingest, log, edit, and deliver. We can do file-based, or have been doing file-based for quite a while. So those assets can be delivered and ingested into the eMAM system pretty much from anywhere around the world. On the live side, we do event logging, sports logging, and edits and create highlights and then deliver those highlights through the system, all while the live capture is being processed as well. Interesting thing about eMAM is we can manage the database and the system in the cloud on a private network, or also in a hybrid mode where assets are stored locally on storage. Maybe the originals are stored there and proxies are in the cloud, or you can put everything in the cloud or everything on premise. So it's kind of up to you as to where that goes, and then we'll show you kind of how it's easy to connect into the MatrixStore, stored pretty much anywhere around the world. So we'll show that and talk with that about that. On the managed media stored, in multiple environments. So not only could you have local storage in one facility or multiple storage locations in one facility, say production storage and maybe offline storage, and then of course archive storage as well. But this also gives you the ability to store in multiple locations around the country, around the world. And so we'll get into that a little bit more here as we talk, but the idea really is eMAM offers that flexibility no matter where the media is, gives you full search capabilities across the board. So again, we ingest, organize, produce, collaborate, and deliver and archive the media through the entire process. So we can manage all projects through Avid, IBM, or Avid Premiere, Adobe Premiere, and then of course Final Cut as well, and manage that entire process, the delivery process, and also the archive process as well, and putting projects pretty much anywhere that you'd like them. As I mentioned, we do 4K video to pretty much any type of files that's supported by the file system. So if it is supported there, we pretty much can ingest it, index it, and then move it to the MatrixStore locations for archive and manage all of those, all documents and so on. During that process, we actually create a proxy file and then, of course, metadata that's associated with each of those assets. And then that's how you basically preview or search, preview, and then either restore from MatrixStore and bring it back and then use it and deliver it, or just push it back into the archive system and so on. So again, we can pretty much manage any type of file that you give us. Cloud-based, remote editing as well. This is kind of interesting where you have media stored in some location. Maybe the remote editors are not physically there to manage original media. They can actually download and accelerate that file delivery as well, but download to a remote site. Like I'm here in Nashville and Mark's in London, I could actually download media from London here and then edit that and then put it back into the system with the finished sequence and so on. So we do have and offer that flexibility as well. And then we've integrated with a number of AI integrations with Amazon, Google, IBM, and VoiceBase and Microsoft. This gives you automated tagging of all your media through the new AI technology over the last couple of years, from speech to text to facial recognition, emotion, annotations, and objects and things like that. So a lot of flexibility there in tagging the media. All right, next slide. So some of the benefits that you're getting out of eMAM, and then of course the combination here with MatrixStore, is giving the ability then to manage media content on-premise or in the cloud, but pretty much anywhere around the world. So with this capability, we visually see where all the different components are and where your media is stored and all the platforms you have available to you to store and deliver that media. So again, we archive the media to an affordable platform, and with this object store, be able to restore it at any time at a much faster rate than, say, like tape-based systems and so on. So the database itself can run, again, as I mentioned, in the cloud, on-premise, or in a hybrid mode, and then be able to make it available through secure networks and connections and credentials and so on with permission level set to allow users from pretty much anywhere to view any media, search on any media, and then do something with that media as well. So we manage the storage not only in the cloud, so any one of the platforms that are in the cloud, but then of course also in the MatrixStore as well. We'll show you how that's set up and so on in the system, and how easy it is actually to set up and look at the different buckets that are available. And then we can do a federated search, as I mentioned, across all storage locations. So let's say you do have storage in London, in New York, in LA, in Singapore, let's say. I could actually do a search across all those storage locations, find that media, and then bring it back into the system, restore it, and then use the material. Now, it's still stored in the archive location. We're just restoring it for a period of time and then deleting it. But it's still stored back in the original archive location, which is very nice to do, and easy to restore it, use it, and then pretty much do anything you want with that media at that point. And then, of course, secure-based levels with permissions. So those permission levels set what they get to see and then what they get to do with that media. So each user could be in a user group that does viewing only of media and maybe looking at metadata, and then editors may have full rights to the media plus metadata, and then maybe executives or just people outside of your network, you can actually view proxies from the cloud, not getting into your private network, and then viewing that media, and then maybe making comments, review and approve, and so on. This is kind of how the layout is of the system. So again, on the ingest side, from left to right, we bring in the media, we store it on local storage or wherever the eMAM system's directed to store the media. We can then archive directly to MatrixStore immediately. So you have a backup, and I'll show you where you can actually store it in multiple locations. So you not only have it on your main store, but then also on your archive location as well. And then on the ingest side, like I said, we use a transcoder to actually then create that proxy and then give the user the ability to actually add metadata at that point. That metadata then is used for search, but then also used through the edit process. We manage all the media through a web-based interface through our director interface. And then again, as I mentioned, we can then push to the archive storage location, one or multiple, and then be able to restore it and then do delivery and share of that media. Okay, next slide. So this is kind of a quick little graphic, but I'm going to actually go in and show you the demo of this. But this is where we go in and we set up the settings and so on, the location of our MatrixStore location. And in this case here, this location, you put in your access key, your secret key, and then you connect to it, and then it tells you or asks you which bucket you want to place it in. So this is actually done in an interface not known to users, but the admins would go in and then set this up. Then the media is then made available to them on ingest or through the archive process. And so we can basically set it up to where users simply just have it available to them to use. Okay, next slide. And then this is our interface here. We'll go into it in a little bit here in a second, but this is the web interface that you would log into and users would log into to find, search, preview, and then deliver media, and then of course archive the media as well through our director. All right, next slide. I think we're going into a demo here, right?
Yeah.
Is that what we're doing, Mark?
Yeah, if you take over the screen and you can show the eMAM in the live view.
All right. And you're able to see my screen?
We are indeed.
Okay. So what I'm going to show you first here is the interface into SuperAdmin. And so this is kind of the back-end interface where users or admins and SuperAdmins would actually go in and manage the eMAM system on a global basis. So this is setting up to what we call the unit management. And so the system can actually be divided by units or business units, and then those business units can be assigned to departments, and no two departments would see each other. So you're actually dividing up the eMAM system and being able to view this. So what I did was I actually have settings and so on, and I connect to it here. And then with that, I have the ability now to make that storage location available to create what we call profiles. And so in those profiles, we're setting up the MatrixStore here. And Mark was kind enough to allow us to connect to his storage here. And so with that, we have an S3 connection to their storage locations. And then we can then select which bucket we want to use as well after we connect. And then we have settings to where we can actually delete the storage. Like if you wanted to maintain media on your traditional storage location for a period of time, we can set a date and say, you know, for when I hit archive, save it for 20 days and then delete it, and it'll be in the archive. But of course, the assets are not deleted because the proxy and the metadata are still available. But this is simply how we go ahead and set these up. These different profiles through archive are then made available to the user to select from. So we named it MatrixStore eMAM, and then that's what will show up when somebody selects the archive system, okay, or archiving of assets. So I'm going to go ahead and actually open up eMAM. So these are the credentials that I log in. I'm actually connected to my local machine here, but again, this could be based on any private network or up in the cloud. These credentials then determine what I can see and do within the system. Now, I'm actually an admin, so I can see everything that goes on. And so what we have here is this interface is completely designed by the user. So you can actually go in and kind of define it on how you'd like, and then based on those settings and so on, you can save different layouts that you like. So it's similar actually to Adobe Premiere, if you're familiar there. In some of the editing software, you can actually go in and create different layouts and so on. So we have that ability to do so, and we use what we call these little widgets. And these widgets actually are things where you can just drag and drop onto your interface, and then now that gives you kind of the ability to kind of view the media or the different layouts and so on. But each one of these actually has a particular function within the eMAM system. So not only do I have like a preview here, I have a list of all my assets, and I can view these in various flavors, various ways of looking at different media. And then, of course, when we bring things in, we actually organize it by what we call categories. And so those categories then define kind of how our organization is of our media. And so you can store the assets into the eMAM system based on, say, projects, or in this case here, we had a customer that needed based on episodes and seasons and that kind of thing. So we created these different layouts. These layouts here of these categories can also then be imported into Adobe Premiere. And then through that, then I can organize everything. Now, the key part about this is once I'm done with this, I can actually simply just go in and I'm done with this project and hit the archive button. And so with that archive button, there's the Mac store that I had set up in Adobe Premiere or in SuperAdmin. And so through SuperAdmin, I can actually then hit this button here and store everything, all the media, into the archive location. And then when you look at the different assets, and I've actually stored a couple up there in your storage there, Mark. And so what it does is, looking at the file version, I can see that it's stored here locally that I have, but I also have a copy up in the MatrixStore. And so with the MatrixStore now, I'm safely storing my media. So if anything were to happen to my drive here locally, it wouldn't matter because I could have that database then connected to the MatrixStore and then restore that media. So again, very simply, I can go ahead and store an entire project in this matrix, store matrix, and then I could also then go ahead and restore different media as well, or store the assets in the MatrixStore. I could archive those. So like in this case here, if I click on this one, I'll see that this one is also stored there. You'll see also that I have it stored in a source file, original folder, and then also in the MatrixStore as well. And then I can just go ahead and hit restore here and restore to the storage here. We'll click on that, and away it goes. So in the background, what happens there is that everything that you do with those assets, I can actually then simply just restore those at any time. In Adobe Premiere as well, if you've got a project and it's been archived, we would actually then go ahead and restore those files as well very quickly. So, and again, the media as well, sequences, various projects and so on, subclips, markers, things like that that we do within the system here, very easily can be managed all throughout the media, throughout the eMAM system here as well. And then, again, I'll just do one last thing here to point out. We also do rough cuts and various things within the MAM system here. So we can actually go in, create different types of timelines and so on. And then these timelines go into Adobe Premiere. But once again, if these are stored and archived, I can actually then restore those, that media as well for that project. So again, it's very quick and easy to take a project, take all the assets associated with that project, hit archive, and feel comfortable that now everything's stored there. But the idea too is on that archive, that could be pretty much anywhere around the world and store that. So Mark's slide that you showed with the cloud-based and then having multiple locations, I just make those available to my customers for archive and restore purposes. All right, Mark, I think we'll turn it back to you.
Great, thanks very much. So let me just do a quick, very, very super quick look at our vision interface, just to see it from the other side. Obviously, in those DRVC scenarios, you might need a sudden quick look at the storage directly. And this is what we can do with Vision. Vision is completely customizable. It can be skinned up for your company if you were to present it to outside input. So it looks like your own interface. When you log in, you've only got access to the vaults that you have access to on the left here. And as you can see, this is the one which Chuck has been passing assets in and out of. So seeing your stills, seeing your videos, and having a quick play through and play them out nice and easily. You've also got all the metadata down the left-hand side, as well as the option for tags, where we can do quick searches into the tag side of things. You've got the option to share links very quickly and easily through our right click. So in that DR scenario, you could be quickly getting your assets, restoring, working across the way in that way. The final thing I'll just show you is the move to side of things, where if we've pushed it off to Glacier, we've also got the low resolution proxy still playable within our system. And then we can just quickly and easily see that metadata and quickly and easily restore it back from there. I think it was actually test 02, wasn't it? It was the incorrect one I was looking at. So let's try that. But Vision is a nice additional setup to the eMAM side of things. It allows us a quick glance through at our assets in the world. So I guess are there any questions for us at this time? Is there anything you'd like to ask about the integration?
Yeah, for the most part, Mark, on our side, the easy setup and so on. It took me, I think, all of about 10 minutes to connect with your location that you gave us, and quite easy to set up and then name it properly within the eMAM system. So when users do connect, they know where they're sending it. So if you name it properly and so on, but it's quite nice to use. And if you are looking for an automated process for archive, we do have the ability to set up profiles on ingest that it automatically goes to the MatrixStore as well.
Cool. Okay, well, if there's no more questions then, I'll just say thank you very much, Chuck, for joining us. Thank you for everyone who's listened along. I hope it's been useful. And if there are any questions afterwards, please do get in touch and let us know if we can help in any way.
Appreciate it. Thank you, Mark.
No worries. Thank you, everyone.